Our wonderful fluffy house cats had already domesticated themselves thousands of years ago, and most of us would agree that it's the best thing that has happened to humankind. But this kitty made an incredible return to its wild side, only to retrieve a wild alter ego that wants to get back inside. She took a double take at her cat. Now, she knew why he had been making such a racket. Then, he let out a blood-curdling yowl. She looked closer and realized that that was no stray cat outside her window. But what did it want? Was her cat in danger? She would have to wait to find out. Waffles is a typical spoiled and pampered house cat. He had only ever been outside the house a handful of times in his life, but he was about to give his owner the fright of a lifetime when he brought home an unexpected love interest. Just what would she think of this stray cat? The domesticated house cat still has a lot in common with their wild cousins, especially when you compare them to how dogs have evolved. Most cats still have the pleasure of going where they will, when they will, and most importantly, they see who they want to see. And herein lies the secret that many cats keep. Unlike the beloved dog, cats haven't evolved in the same way that makes them more dependent on humans for their food. They remain very much in control of their own lives, and perhaps that is what brings us the most joy, that the humble house cat shows us even though we didn't breed them to do so. So, Waffles, having retained his ancestors' abilities as an impressive predator, able to hunt in near darkness in the still of the night. He has the broadest range of hearing among all carnivores, and he doesn't have humans to thank for it one bit. But what does he do with his cat superpowers? So who can he thank for remaining so true to a cat's natural state of being? Well, cats remain wild. Even though we have bred the dog to protect or fetch or dance, cats have pretty much kept their love lives out of the hands of people. So, what Waffles did was unbelievable, and his owner was gobsmacked. Walking down the stairs upon hearing the usually quiet Waffles making quite a racket, meowing incessantly, was a bit of a shock. What happened after that though proved to be a heart-stopping moment, something between fear and awe. Outside, pressed up against the window pane, was a huge spotted cat lying quite comfortably beside Waffles. Stumbling across this rather unconventional sight, Emma never thought for a second that a little house cat would want to be anywhere near another cat. She had once brought home some shelter kittens to foster for a few days, and Waffles had thrown a complete hissy fit. But here he was having the time of his life, purring and chatting up his new friend. Soon he'd want to meet face to face. But Emma wasn't at all sure about that being a good idea. She knew that cats could be all peaches and cream one moment and then hissing and spitting the next. People didn't call it a cat fight for nothing. The last thing she wanted was for Waffles to get hurt. Then, she noticed that the cat outside wasn't a cat at all. Infinitely curious about the larger cat outside, Waffles spent all of his time following the pretty big bobcat around the house, jumping up onto windowsills and quickly running to the doors to follow her wherever she went, and amazingly she always came back to him. Until one fateful day. It was a freezing cold day, with more snow forecast, when the beautiful female bobcat didn't come back to visit Waffles. He spent his days restlessly moving from one window to another, never settling down for long in order to keep up his vigil for his now departed mate. Emma wondered what had happened to her and hoped she was okay. Time passed and the winter soon became spring. Waffles had been pretty miserable throughout the colder months, and Emma started to worry about his health as well as his broken heart. He was losing a lot of weight and she knew she had to act quickly to save him. The vet would know what to do, surely. Emma was gutted. The vet, having put Waffles on a mood enhancer to combat the depression, still wasn't eating what he should be. You could find him sitting on his windowsill overlooking the back garden where he had first met his wild bobcat friend. What was she going to do if the bobcat was gone for good? One day, Waffles started meowing loudly at the window and standing with his front paws against the glass. Rushing down to see if the bobcat could be back, came Emma with a camera in hand. Waffles was ecstatic and happily rubbing up against the window pane. There outside was his lady bobcat, laying lazily in the dappled sunshine as only cats, big or small, do. But another surprise was creeping out of the bushes. Would Waffles be happy about what was about to happen next? Emma held her breath and watched. Waffles and Emma watched in amazement as 1, 2, 3 tawny kittens came bounding out of the bushes, with not a care in the world. It's as though their mother had told them that this place was safe and that Waffles was indeed a friend. Emma watched her cat intently, waiting to see what his reaction would be. On its home turf, the typical bobcat will claim at least 2 or 3 different shelters. The most frequently used is called the natal den, which is often a cave or rocky cave-like opening, but in this case, it seemed to be Waffles' backyard. It clearly was the perfect place to raise a family. Mother bobcats also have auxiliary dens spread throughout their territories which could span anywhere between 1 to 18 square miles in size. She could move her babies from one den to another as often as she needed to keep other predators off the scent of her little ones. Emma was a little proud to be able to offer such good accommodation. Emma was thrilled that the lady bobcat was back, and even more so that Waffles was so back to his old self again. He seemed more than happy to have 3 extra wild friends to watch grow up, and who could blame him? They were the cutest baby bobcats Emma had ever seen, although that mainly involved what she had watched on TV documentaries. Emma was initially concerned that Waffles would still want to get out and actually meet the big wildcat face to face, but he seemed more than content to lie pressed against the window pane and live vicariously through his wild family. Being chosen by wildlife is an honor many people don't receive. Emma realized this through her domesticated house cat and his love of this potentially dangerous creature. Luckily, Emma realizes that Waffles, as much as he loves the bobcat, is not prepared to deal with such strength, so he will remain inside, and they can both watch the family grow up and thrive. If you enjoyed this story, wait for our next story starting in 10 seconds. A family rushed to escape the deadly flames of the latest and worst of California wildfires and leapt into their car, but they could not find their beloved dog. Forced with a life or death choice, they did the only thing they were able to. They couldn't imagine what the future would hold, only that time was running out. She began her day by painting the master bedroom ceiling, and the new carpets would be arriving the next day when she popped onto Facebook for a quick coffee break. Among the pages, she saw that a small wildfire had started up in the hills. She kept it in the back of her mind as she returned to her remodeling. But that fire grew larger while she quietly worked, oblivious to the growing threat. The only measures they had taken this year was to pack a few small supplies, including the girls' school books. They hadn't been given an evacuation order yet, and the fire was a whole bridge away from where we live in Paradise, her 24-year-old daughter Kayla said. Leanna packed her 2 daughters, Emma, 10, and Clarissa, 8, into the car. She expected that they would be able to return shortly. Noticing, from her window, the black clouds building in the sky, Leanna went outside thinking that rain was on the way. She stuck her hand out to feel the raindrops and realized that the soft drizzle falling from the sky was, in fact, charred soot and ash. That was enough to galvanize her into action. She quickly realized that the huge cloud was not born of rain and moisture but of smoke and rising flames. The wind picked up and Leanna scrambled to squeeze her family into the car. They were quickly running out of time to make it to safety. The fire had started not far away from the town of Paradise and would be on top of them in moments, the now howling wind causing the fire to leap from forest to houses. This fire was unlike anyone had seen, and with the evacuation warning given at 4 p.m., it wasn't long before the whole town was in a frenzy, taking to the roads to escape the smoke. The roads became bottlenecked, traffic was at a standstill, and the flames, driven by the fierce winds, were beginning to lick at the roadsides. Leanna had been of the assumption, just as many others had, that they would be able to return home to collect another load in their precious brown and white border collie, Ella. It was only while on the congested roads with flames nipping at their toes that they realized they wouldn't be able to return home for Ella. With the heart-wrenching realization, they quickly formulated a plan. Leanna's eldest daughter, Kayla, who was already driving back to Paradise from Sacramento, was to stop by the house to pick up the rest of their belongings, including Ella. But the situation in Paradise was about to take a turn for the worse, and Kayla was unable to even get to the house, and things only got worse from there. There's people all of a sudden running out of their cars because traffic's not moving, and the fire, all of a sudden, was that close. Nobody really knew it was going to jump that quickly when all of us were thinking, "Oh, it's always a way, we have a day or more, you know," Kayla said when thinking about how crushed the family was at leaving Ella to face the fire alone. Who could possibly help? Quickly, Leanna reached out to see which authorities they could contact to make sure Ella was safe. Animal control said they would do their best, but they could only leave her food and water, and there was no sign of the brave border collie. All the family had was scarce hope, and that hope was thin as they slowly drove through the town being consumed by flames. 2 days after, and seeing tens of thousands of residents displaced, Katrina Woodcox, executive director of the Butte Humane Society, stepped up to do something to help. "I just thought we need to create a pet supply and food pantry," she said. "Our focus at the Humane Society is to think about the immediate needs of the evacuees and really anybody affected by the fire. The town was burned to the ground, barely anything untouched by campfire, and as the family returned to what was once their neighborhood, they saw the unbelievable. One house, probably the only thing Ella would know in the barren, scorched land, had been left standing. Was it possible that she would have too remained unscathed? Ella proudly emerged from the last remaining landmark in the street. With burnt paws and singed whiskers, Ella had not only survived the enormous fire, but had remained largely unscathed and, other than thirsty, was in great condition. The family was ecstatic. Even in the face of losing their home, at least Ella was safe, and about to create a stir. The Copsey family began a GoFundMe page and sparked internet interest regarding all the animals of the displaced families. With nowhere to go and literally the clothes on their backs, these people have nothing to give their own pets, and Ella has made a stir which we hope will contribute toward donations. Soon, the Butte Humane Society began receiving truckloads of pet food and supplies. With the organization sheltering more than 100 cats, and with more than 1,700 animals being cared for at shelters in Chico alone, any donation, no matter how small, is welcomed. The family has raised over $2,000 for Ella, for return visits to the vet and hopefully to go towards the other displaced animals of paradise. The need for supplies is so great, shelters can hardly keep things on the shelves, said Mandy McLean, pet food and supply manager. We have people grabbing beds off FedEx trucks, McLean said. We can't keep enough beds in crates. Since coming back home, Kayla says that Ella is still super energetic like she always has been. She's wanting to play. She loves squeaky toys, she continues, adding that for the time being, the dog is using her mouth to fling them around, because she knows she can't use her paws yet. The state's Forestry and Fire Protection Agency made the announcement that the Camp Fire has been 100% contained after spending 17 days beating back a blaze that has burned through 153,000 acres of Butte County. 3 straight days of rain helped more than 1,000 firefighters douse the final flames. A word for the future: when the media goes away and life goes back to normal and kids go back to school, we're still going to have the occupants of 10,000 homes who have nothing, Woodcock said. I would like to see and hope that our community and beyond our community can support these folks for the next however long it takes. Ella is currently staying with Kayla, the eldest daughter, while the family picks up the pieces in the cinders left from the devastating campfire. She's a smart dog and made her way through a trial that we hope no one ever needs to witness again, but her courage brings hope that many more people and animals make it through.